Revealed, can divine souls manifest through you? The supernatural journey few are ready for, in the quaint little village of Eldenwood, where the softly chiming church bells echoed like promises of grace, Elizabeth was known for her unwavering faith. A devout woman in her mid-40s, she was a pillar of the community. Each Sunday, she'd lead prayer groups, her prayers soaring like larks, touching hearts and weaving the villagers into a tapestry of shared belief. But one chilly autumn evening, as sun-drenched leaves danced like whispered prayers on the cobblestones, Elizabeth's world trembled with chaos. Her young son, Thomas, fell gravely ill. Doctors shook their heads, their words like heavy stones crashing down on her spirit. Elizabeth felt the warmth of her faith slip away, leaving her in a cold, dark hollow. Desperation ignited within her, igniting a fervent call to the townsfolk. Together, they lit candles in the flickering glow of the church, their collective voices rising like fragrant incense, pleading for intercession from St. Therese of Lisieux, her beloved saint. As Elizabeth knelt before the altar, doubt began to gnaw at her soul, questioning if even her most fervent prayers could coax a miracle from heaven. That night, as shadows wove around the church, something extraordinary happened. A gentle light ignited within her heart, revealing a vivid vision of St. Therese, her smile like a balm, urging Elizabeth to hold on to hope. Each vision felt tangible, dripping with divine warmth like golden honey. She watched in awe as St. Therese seemed to dance with joy, whispering to her about trust and the beautiful, mysterious designs of the Almighty. Days flowed like the river, prayers echoed against the weathered stones of the church, and Elizabeth clung to those sacred visions. But then came an astonishing twist. An elderly man named Arthur, a village skeptic, suddenly rose from his wheelchair one Sunday morning. The thrumming of disbelief transformed into gasps of awe, while whispers turned into shouts of joy. It was a miracle. The village erupted in hope, and Elizabeth's yearning for such divine power grew stronger still. Could my prayers indeed summon such grace? She wondered, her heart pounding with both faith and longing. In a night of agonizing determination, she laid hands on Thomas, a desperate act of devotion. But when nothing happened, despair clawed at her insides. How could she reconcile the miracle of Arthur with her own son's suffering? The clash of faith and grief echoed in her heart, louder than the bells chiming their usual promises. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As night draped its velvet cloak over Eldenwood, Elizabeth found herself at the altar once more, the flicker of the candles casting mysterious shadows. The promise of something profound whispered through the air, igniting a lungful of hope within her. She thought of St. Therese, who had shown her the way. Could she, just a simple woman of faith, awaken the divine within? With every moment that passed, she leaned closer to the promise of miracles, the village leaning on her journey as they prayed together, awaiting the next unfolding of the supernatural. Elizabeth stood on the precipice of something vast and deeply profound, her heart racing with anticipation, the dark clouds that dispersed the sun flickering with the first hints of dawn, yet questions lingered. Was this the beginning or the end of her extraordinary journey? The stillness of the night wrapped around Elizabeth like a soothing embrace. Her heart beat in sync with the flickering flame of the candles, each flicker a reminder of life and hope. The shadows danced along the church walls, reflecting the struggle within her soul. With every prayer uttered, doubt wrestled against faith, creating a tension that felt almost palpable. Suddenly, she felt a warm breeze sweep through the church. It carried with it a whisper, a promise, trust. Her eyes filled with tears as she remembered the words of St. Therese, urging her to not just wish for miracles, but to be an instrument of them. This wasn't just about her son, it was a divine call that summoned her spirit upwards. The villagers, feeling the energy shift, began to gather quietly in the sanctuary. Their whispers turned into soft prayers, creating a gentle hum that echoed through the vastness. Elizabeth turned to see their faces reflecting both anxiety and hope. They were all waiting, leaning on her faith, and she felt the weight of that responsibility wash over her. "Friends," Elizabeth called out, her voice gathering strength, "this is a moment for us to unite. Let us together lift our voices to the heavens. Let our faith shake the foundations of doubt. A chorus of amen. And yes, Lord, filled the air, creating a wave of sound that reverberated against the stone walls. Each voice seemed to intertwine like strands of a mighty rope, binding their faith together, pulling them closer to the divine. As they prayed, Elizabeth closed her eyes and envisioned Thomas. She saw him in the garden, laughing among the flowers, pure joy emanating from his little heart. The vision ignited a fierce resolve within her. She believed they would conquer darkness with their shared light. Just then, one of the villagers, young Clara, shouted out, "Look!" The congregation turned as an ethereal glow began to seep from behind the altar. A presence filled the space, lush and vibrant, like a soft breeze that swirled around them. Elizabeth felt at first a surge of warmth climbing from her feet to her heart. The villagers gasped, awe painting their features. In that moment of divine connection, she understood that the essence of faith was not merely in asking for miracles, but in holding space for them to arrive. She dropped to her knees, hands raised, as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Lord, let thy will be done. I believe. I choose faith over fear. Bring forth healing, not just for Thomas, but for souls in this village." The light intensified, a golden hue casting shadows across the chapel. Everyone fell silent, breaths held as if the very universe awaited an answer. The air crackled with a sense of majesty, time itself feeling suspended. With eyes still closed, Elizabeth felt her heart expand, break, and mend all at once. It was as if an invisible string connected her to each villager, to Thomas, to the divine. Could it be possible that within her was a spark, an essence of creation, longing to unfold? As the light pulsed and swirled around them, a voice echoed in her spirit, "What you seek, you shall find." In that instant, a profound realization washed over Elizabeth. This was not merely about her son's sickness, it was about awakening the divine that resided in all of them. But just as hope began to swell in her chest, a shadow of doubt whispered once more, what if this moment, this divine encounter, came with a cost? And the question loomed in the air, what was the price of true faith? At the brink of revelation, Elizabeth's heart raced, wonderment and trepidation pulsing through her veins. The journey was far from over. Where would this divine encounter lead them next? The air sparkled with anticipation, a tangible energy that wrapped around the villagers like a warm cloak. Each heart beat together, creating a collective rhythm of hope. Elizabeth, still knelt in prayer, felt the gentle touch of the divine, piercing through her doubts, lifting them higher into the sacred atmosphere. Her spirit soared, mingling with the light, transcending the turmoil of their earthly trials. "Feel it," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "The presence of something greater." Around her, eyes were wide and glistening. Clara, standing at the front, had her tiny hands clasped tightly. "It feels warm, like a hug from God," she exclaimed, her innocent joy illuminating the darkness around them. Elizabeth smiled, encouraged. "Yes. It is God's love, and it is wrapped around us." She lifted her head, eyes scanning the faces of her fellow villagers. Some were seasoned in faith, others only beginning their journey, yet all were united in this holy moment. With a newfound confidence, she continued, "Let us share our stories, our burdens. Let the light guide our words like lanterns in the night." Activity rippled through the crowd as the villagers began to speak. One by one, they opened their hearts, offering prayers and testimonies, filling the air with their vulnerabilities. Each story was a thread woven into a tapestry of hope. The elderly widow, sharing her fears of loneliness. The baker, confessing doubts about his failing shop. A father, his voice trembling as he voiced his worries for his sick child. With every shared pain, the golden light pulsed to a greater intensity. It transformed their grief into something beautiful, a collective promise to each other and to God. Elizabeth's spirit was lifted higher with each revelation, her faith deepening. Then, Elizabeth began to feel a tingling in her fingertips. As she stretched out her hands, the light responded, swirling colors of gold and white coalescing around her fingers. "Can you see this?" she asked breathlessly, half in disbelief, half in wonder. Gasps erupted as the villagers stepped forward. Their eyes widened in awe, faces illuminated as if witnessing a miracle. Whispers of glory and hallelujah echoed within the church's steadiness. Elizabeth felt the connection deepen, a flow of energy shared among them, as if the boundaries of their individual selves melted away. Do not fear the cost of faith, my friends. She shouted, the divine pulse echoing her words. What we find here will not drain us but fill us. Each testimony, each prayer is like fertile soil that will let new life grow. The villagers raised their hands, eyes fixed on the glowing light, each one hoping for their own miracles, their own relationships restored, hearts healed, and burdens lifted. An unexpected silence fell over the congregation. As if time stopped, all eyes were fixed on the altar. Elizabeth stood resolute, sensing something profound about to unfold. The energy shifted, growing denser, she could feel it all around her but also within her. Wait, what is coming? Just as she felt the anticipation reach a peak, a voice came from the depths of her heart. Prepare your souls for a great awakening. And as that resonated deep within her spirit, the glow brightened, enveloping them all in divine light. The church filled with an indescribable warmth, something so holy it felt like a long-lost embrace, but as the light began to pulse and shape itself into a form, Elizabeth hesitated, heart pounding even louder now. What would this awakening mean? What were they being called into? In moments of sacred marvel, could there also be moments of trial? As the presence grew more defined, Elizabeth could barely breathe. What is the purpose of this encounter? And from the heart of the light, she felt a pull, a beckoning towards something deeper, more transformative than she ever imagined. What awaited them in this divine encounter? The question lingered in the air, heavy with awe and expectancy as they stood on the brink of revelation. The light enveloped the villagers like rays piercing through dense foliage, casting ethereal shadows on their faces. Each flicker seemed to pulse with life, an invitation to delve deeper into their spirits. Elizabeth could sense the collective breath of hope held tight in their chests, expanding as the contours of the light continued to shift and swirl. What is happening? Murmured Clara beside her, eyes wide with wonder. It feels like we are about to change. Elizabeth felt the truth of her words resonate within her. Yes, dear Clara. We are being called to something more. A ripple of anticipation coursed through the assembly, as if the very air thickened with expectation. Suddenly, a warmth intensified around them. It held the weight of countless prayers, of heartaches shared, of burdens lifted. Elizabeth raised her hands higher, inviting the moment, surrendering to the unfolding wonder. Let love flow through us. She proclaimed, her voice unwavering, carrying the weight of 1,000 shared experiences. As the villagers gazed at the luminescent figure forming within the golden light, their hearts beat in rhythm, all echoing the same thought: was this the answer to their longings? The figure took a clearer form, resolving into a radiant presence that seemed to smile down upon them, an embodiment of pure love and compassion. Tears glistened in the corners of eyes, a silent testament to the hearts ignited within the sanctuary. This isn't just the light, a voice whispered from the back, a voice trembling with reverence. This is hope. Elizabeth felt that truth sizzle in the air like electricity. We are not alone. God is here, pouring out His grace upon us. The atmosphere began to vibrate, each syllable echoing back, suffused with divine energy. Lift up your hands, she urged, her heart swelling with purpose. Let us welcome His plan for us, even if we do not fully understand it yet. As they lifted their hands, Elizabeth felt the connections solidify, a web of faith woven tightly among them. Each grasping the warmth of another, a circle of souls united, ready to embrace whatever awaited. In that sacred moment, the presence before them pulsed with energy, radiating love that seeped through their very being, binding them closer together. What is He saying? A woman cried out, her voice breaking through the reverent silence, trembling with fervor. Others leaned in, a chorus of anticipation hanging in the air. The figure began to shimmer and pulse, and Elizabeth could feel the voice within her spirit, clearer than ever before. Awaken to the call of your true selves. Embrace the hidden gifts I have placed within you. You are vessels of my light. A ripple of comprehension washed through the assembly. The mystery was unfolding, they were all chosen. With bewildered glances exchanged, hearts ignited with understanding, they realized that this divine encounter extended beyond revelations for them. It was about sharing those gifts with a world waiting for light. How do we begin? Someone whispered, desperation laced with hope. Elizabeth felt the surge of courage from within, steadying her voice. We start here and now. With every step we take, we carry this light into the world, transforming the mundane into the extraordinary. We are called to serve as hands of healing, hearts of compassion. The light intensified, casting silhouettes against the walls. As the villagers took a deep breath, preparing to respond to the divine call, Elizabeth felt a familiar tug at her heart, a reminder of the trials that may lie ahead. Prepare your spirits, friends. The journey will not be easy, but it will be worth it. Would the villagers have the faith to follow this calling? What challenges awaited them as they stepped into their new roles as vessels of light? With hearts aflame, they stood ready, but uncertainty cloaked the air thickly. What would it truly mean to manifest the divine? The question lingered, vibrating with possibility and mystery, begging for resolution. The murmurs among the villagers swelled like the tide, rising with excitement and trepidation. Elizabeth looked around, sensing the intensity of their hope balanced with uncertainty. "Let go of your fears," she called out gently, her voice cutting through the unease. "What is faith if not trust in what we cannot see?" A young man stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "But what if we fail? What if we are not enough?" His voice cracked slightly, an echo of doubt that struck deep into the hearts of many. Elizabeth felt a wave of compassion for him wash over her. "In our weakness, His strength shines brightest," she declared, her hands still raised toward the divine light. "We are not called to thrive on our own, we are invited to rely on Him." As she spoke, the luminescent figure shimmered with an even brighter glow, almost as if it were responding to her plea. The warmth enveloped them, filling each heart with a renewed sense of purpose. "Embrace the truth that you are never alone," Elizabeth encouraged, her words seemingly igniting a flicker of courage within the gathering. One by one, the villagers nodded, their eyes reflecting the golden light, a mirror of their newfound resolve. Clara raised her voice, quivering but bold. "What do we need to share? How can we begin to make a difference?" That question hung in the air, vibrant with potential and clarity. The presence seemed to pulse, and Elizabeth understood the silent answer. "It begins within us. Each of you carries a spark of the divine. It is time to let it shine." Within moments, the villagers lined up, hands clasping together like vines woven as one. Each individual filled with distinct gifts awaited their call. A sprightly woman with laughter in her eyes claimed the first step forward. "I believe I am meant to bring joy to the children. They need to feel hope now more than ever." A chorus of affirmations rippled through the group, and one after another, they echoed their intentions into the sacred space. A farmer envisioned planting community gardens, an artist aspired to create murals that inspired joy, and an elderly man hoped to share stories of faith that had carried him through storms. The divine luminescence shimmered above them, seemingly harmonizing with the hopeful voices. The intentions they set forth were embraced by the light, affirming, "Yes, yes. Each step of faith amplifies my love in the world." However, as this ecstatic chorus filled the air, a storm began to brew in Elizabeth's heart. A fleeting thought whispered through her spirit, challenging the buoyancy before her. But what if their efforts invite resistance and strife? Suddenly, a chill coursed through the atmosphere. The villagers paused, uncertainty creeping back into their hearts. "What challenges will we face?" A voice trembled, mirroring Elizabeth's inner question. She exhaled deeply, summoning her faith amidst the rising tide of fear. "There will be obstacles, dear friends. The world may resist the light we carry. But remember this," she urged, locking eyes with each person. "Darkness only seeks to extinguish the flame because it fears the light. Your courage will be the transformative spark to shatter despair." Her voice surged with vehemence, urging warmth back into the atmosphere. The glow above them pulsed in agreement, infusing them with hope again. Yet, a gnawing doubt lingered in Elizabeth's heart. Was their light strong enough to face what lay ahead? "Pray without ceasing," Elizabeth exclaimed, lifting her voice into the heavens. "Let us prepare for the trials, for they will shape us." As pockets of prayer began to form, an expectancy buzzed among the villagers, pushing them closer together. They could feel the horizon of their journey beckoning, yet the question lingered: how would they rise in the face of fear and darkness? Each heart held this collective uncertainty, with their spirits interconnected like a living tapestry. They understood that the path would be filled with twists and shadows, but also with grace and growth. What awaited them just beyond this moment? The swirling light above took on various hues, shimmering with the answer. And in that instant, Elizabeth sensed the divine calling them into realms yet unexplored, igniting a flicker of wonder and even worry. What greater truths were still unrevealed? The journey was about to take unexpected turns. Would they summon enough courage to continue moving forward? As the vibrant hues of the swirling light deepened, Elizabeth felt an inexplicable pull at her heart. It was an invitation, a beckoning from the divine to step into a world that awaited their courage. The villagers stood together, uncertainty swirling around them like autumn leaves before a gust of wind. Each of us has a role to play, Elizabeth proclaimed, drawing the crowd's attention back to her. Though shadows may loom, let us remember that we are vessels marked by His grace. The echoes of her words hung like droplets of dew, heavy with promise. Clara stepped forward again, her determination glowing brighter. What if we each focused on one small act of kindness? Could that be enough to spark a change? Her voice trembled with both excitement and fear. Indeed, it can. Elizabeth replied, her own spirit buoyed by Clara's suggestion. Even the smallest flame can illuminate the darkest night. Let us not underestimate the power of love and compassion. Together, we can create a chain reaction, each loving act woven into a beautiful tapestry of hope. A farmer, who had been quietly listening, nodded slowly. I could share fresh produce with those who are struggling. A simple meal made with love can do wonders. His voice carried warmth reminiscent of the sun breaking through a cloudy sky. Yes. Sharing food is sharing love. Clara exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. The energy shifted, doubts began to dissolve, transforming into a bubbling joy that surged through the congregation. The elderly man stepped forward, leaning on his cane. And I will gather the stories of our lives, tales of strength, hardship, and faith. His voice was steady, the wisdom it carried seasoned by years. These stories aren't just my own, they're ours. We can remind each other that we've made it through storms before. Elizabeth's heart swelled with pride. She could feel the sacred energy intertwining among them, an awakening they hadn't anticipated. As they began to share their thoughts and aspirations, the luminescence above them pulsed in time with their voices, affirming their unity and intentions. Let our hearts strike a chord with kindness, Elizabeth declared, moving to take the hands of the villagers beside her. As the warmth of connection spread, the light shimmered even more vividly. Each intention bubbled forth like a wellspring of renewal. But just as hope surged, a shiver crept back into the atmosphere. A dark cloud appeared on the horizon, ominous and threatening. It was a reminder that their newfound courage would face resistance. They hadn't evaded darkness, they were simply choosing to shine brighter. One villager blurted out, "What if our kindness goes unnoticed? What if nothing changes?" The fear in his voice sent ripples of anxiety through the crowd. Elizabeth paused, the weight of uncertainty settling upon her. The journey ahead may be filled with trials, and our light may flicker, she intimated softly, her heart responding to the ache around her. But even in moments of doubt, struggle can lead to transformation. Just as the chrysalis must endure in darkness before it becomes a butterfly. The villagers exchanged glances, fear interwoven with flickers of hope. Elizabeth knew in her core that they could not allow darkness to silence their voices. Every act of love we perform is like a tiny seed scattered across the landscape of our lives. We may not see the harvest immediately, but trust that He is at work beneath the surface. With tentative courage returning, hands squeezed a little tighter. The firm resolve of their collective spirit anchored them against the looming shadows. Together they set their intentions anew, daring to believe their actions might ripple far beyond their own experience. As they transformed, Elizabeth became aware of a profound truth unfolding within her. Would they truly be ready to yield themselves completely, even when faced with the unknown? And in that moment, the swirling light above blanketed them, inviting them into deeper realms of understanding. What mysteries lie ahead that could further stretch their faith and inspire change beyond imagination? The questions hung there like an unfinished prayer, urging them onward into the uncharted territory that awaited just beyond this moment. Would they embrace the journey ahead, no matter where it might lead? The villagers stood united, their hearts intertwined in a powerful tapestry of intent. Elizabeth sensed the collective energy, an undeniable force that pulsed with potential. Yet, shadows loomed larger on the horizon, threatening to break their budding confidence. Clara, her eyes sparkling still, turned towards Elder Samuel. "Your stories will guide us, but how shall we share the light we carry? How can we be brave enough to reach others beyond our village?" Elder Samuel smiled, resting a hand over his heart. "We must let our stories breathe. They are like lanterns, illuminating paths in darkness. We shall share them in our meetings, in the market, and even at the well. Each tale will connect us, one listener at a time." A hush fell over the crowd. Each soul glanced among one another, reflecting upon lives' long-lived pain, joy, laughter, and sorrow mingling together like colors on a painter's canvas. Elizabeth felt a stirring within, as if she had wings sprouting, anticipating movement, anticipating flight. But how do we reach those outside? Those who hide behind their walls of doubt? Another villager asked, a tremor threading through his voice. But sometimes, reaching out begins with a soft touch," Elizabeth replied, her voice calm like the gentle ripples on a serene lake. "Perhaps we could leave messages of hope on the paths we walk each day. Small notes, hidden amongst the flowers, whispering love into the world." "How delightfully simple!" Clara exclaimed. "Those little notes can weave their magic silently, spreading warmth and encouragement to passers-by. Sometimes it only takes a single word to spark a flame of hope in another's heart." As ideas flowed, Elizabeth recognized a beautiful truth: every person carried within them a unique light, and no darkness could snuff it out. A unity blossomed among the crowd, each heart lighting up with the excitement of newfound purpose. But then, filled with anticipation and hesitation alike, one voice emerged from the back. "We are fools, aren't we? What if our efforts fail? What if we cast our nets wide and catch nothing?" The disheartened villager slumped down, fear etched on his face. Elizabeth saw the despair like a cloud drifting through their illumination. "We must not measure our worth by the outcomes of our intentions," she declared passionately. "Do not let fear rob you of your power to love. For every action we take is a step toward breaking the chains that hold us. Whether or not we see the fruits of our labor is not the point, the journey is divine itself." As though responding to her words, the swirling light above them brightened, casting warmth upon the villagers' faces. Elizabeth sensed that something was shifting. It was as if they were tapping into the promise of transformation spoken about only a moment before. One by one, villagers lifted their hands, extending outward toward the light, embodying acceptance of the call to action. Elders, youths, and everyone in between, they stood together, united by the conviction that they were part of something far greater than themselves. With determination ignited, Clara whispered, "Together, let us shine forth. Let every act of kindness be a spark to ignite another fire. Let us stand firm and allow our lights to reflect His grace." These words hung in the air, shimmering like gold, solidifying their pact. They felt its sacred weight binding them as a community marked for purpose. Yet, just as their spirits soared, the distant rumble of thunder echoed ominously. The dark cloud stretched nearer, a reminder of the battle yet to come. Would the villagers' flame burn brightly against the storm, or would the winds of doubt extinguish their resolve? Each heart thudded softly but powerfully with the uncertainty that lay ahead. Was their courage ready to withstand the trials on the horizon? What strength would be required to emerge from the darkness transformed? The questions loomed like shadows waiting for dawn. A divine whisper teased, "Have you prepared your hearts for the profound growth this journey may demand?" As the villagers took their first steps into the unfolding mystery, what awaited them beyond that horizon began to unfold. As the villagers took a breath, the thunder rolled again, this time less distant and more demanding. It resonated deep within their core, like a drumbeat signaling a new chapter. The air thickened with intensity, and Elizabeth felt a ripple of fear intermixed with excitement. They stood at the edge of something vast, unknown, and full of possibility. "Remember," Elder Samuel began, his voice rising with authority over the growing storm, "our stories are meant to challenge darkness. Every act of love, every message we leave, is infused with grace. Let us step out and let our light guide." "Are we ready?" murmured a younger villager, his eyes betraying the courage he struggled to hold. "What if we fail? What if our light goes unnoticed?" We may stumble, Elizabeth replied, her heart steadfast. But it is our intent that matters. Imagine the wayward souls we could touch, the hearts that could awaken to hope simply by knowing they are not alone. Remember, faith is often birthed from uncertainty. Inspired by her words, humility mixed with fortitude enveloped them. A veil of collective resolve folded over their doubts. They were united, each shared breath-igniting tiny flames of faith. Each villager took a moment to whisper into the air, their unique stories blending into a heartfelt prayer for strength. Around them, the village seemed to vibrate with possibilities. Leaves rustled and branches danced as if compelled by an unseen force. It was a gentle reminder of nature's resonance with their mission. Logos of God's promises swirled above their heads, nurturing the courage nestled in their spirits. We must be active, Clara declared, urgency built in her voice, eyes shimmering like stars, not only here, but out there. Our messages can be beacons. Let us sprinkle them through town and neighboring lands. It takes but one divine moment, one glimmer of hope to change a life. The villagers nodded, hearts synchronizing to Clara's enthusiasm. They began to form groups, their laughter, ideas, and prayers weaving through the gathering clouds. Arms reached for paper, brushes, and twine. Each note became an extension of themselves, a piece of sacred energy poured out into the world. These were not just words, they were handcrafted offerings of love, tiny manifestations of their belief in a brighter tomorrow. Elizabeth could almost feel the divine presence wrapping around them, emboldening their purpose like a warm embrace. Yet, as they thrust their lights into the gathering murk, a familiar voice echoed in Elizabeth's mind, an unsettling whisper that had trailed her since childhood. What if? What if it's all for nothing? As if reading her thoughts, Elder Samuel turned to her, wisdom radiating from his gaze. Fear is our greatest adversary, but it cannot extinguish what has been lit. His reassurance washed over her, quelling the storm within. In that moment, they understood. It wasn't just about the actions they were taking, it was about the intention behind those actions. Fear could be transformed into compassion, turning hesitation into a stepping stone toward purpose. Each villager, with their heart aflame, embraced the power within it. Just as the first notes were placed beneath the old oak tree, the sky darkened, and raindrops began to fall. Each drop was like liquid encouragement, a blessing from above, as if God Himself was affirming their journey. What a sign! One villager laughed, arms open wide, welcoming the rain. Murmurs of excitement spread through the crowd. Let us rejoice! For we are not walking this path alone. Yet, a flicker of worry danced in Elizabeth's heart. Could the heavens be urging them forward into a storm more treacherous than they anticipated? As the rain continued to pour, her thoughts turned inward. How much would this journey demand of them? What sacrifices might be necessary for their hearts to burst forth in beautiful transformation? The first notes of hope lay ready, waiting for the world to feel their gentle touch. What awaited the villagers as they spread their sacred messages in the coming storm? What divine surprises lay hidden just around the corner? The thunder muttered again, but this time it felt less threatening, like a herald welcoming them to their destined path. The rain fell steadily, a rhythmic symphony that seemed to harmonize with the hearts of the villagers. Each drop, each sound, felt like a heavenly endorsement, urging them to trust in their mission. Elizabeth looked around, her fellow villagers illuminated by the soft glow of passion and belief. Let us write our messages now! Clara exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with fervor. She gathered those closest to her, and they formed a circle under the broad canopy of the oak tree. We'll send them out high on the breeze. With great joy, they began to pen their thoughts. Some wrote verses of hope, others quotes that had inspired them, and a few offered personal stories of transformation. It was a collage of souls woven together by the common thread of light. Elizabeth picked up a brush, and with each stroke painted symbols of love: a heart, a cross, and brightly colored suns. As the rain pattered against the paper, it seemed to come alive, each word absorbing the moisture, becoming enriched with faith and emotion. Elizabeth felt compelled to write her own message, a powerful affirmation: you are seen, you are loved, you are never alone. Around them, laughter mingled with shouts of encouragement. Some began to sing, voices rising above the storm, their melodies threading through the droplets. It was a celebration of life and of unity, a testament to their combined strength. Yet, within Elizabeth, the earlier doubts lurked as shadows in the twilight. Will these messages truly reach the ones who need them? The thought snagged at her heart. She could see the faces of those they were writing to, a neighbor struggling with grief, a child feeling lost in chaos. Elder Samuel sensed her turmoil. He approached and quietly placed a hand on her shoulder. Every letter we send is filled with our love. And love never goes unnoticed. Remember how the Lord breaks through barriers. The simplest act can touch a heart and spark a flame. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, soothing her fears. Yes, she replied softly, the warmth of camaraderie pushing back the chill of worry. We pour our spirits into these notes, but we also trust in His power to carry them. With renewed energy, the villagers carefully tied their messages to twine and launched them into the wind. One by one, the papers danced into the air, swirling amid the raindrops before they finally took flight, soaring away toward distant fields and unseen hearts. The sight brought forth cheers. They watched as their prayers mingled with the storm, glimmering under flashes of lightning like stars breaking through clouds. Look! Someone shouted. They shine bright. In that shared moment of awe, something deeper swept through the gathering. It was as if, amidst the chaos of nature, divine harmonies echoed, knitting their hearts closer together. They pointed skyward, their voices a chorus of gratitude that rose with the ascending notes. Every single message, a step toward divine purpose. Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the cacophony. This is the essence of our journey to spread love. As if nature itself had rejoiced with them, the rain paused, and shafts of light began to pierce the clouds. And yet, as the moments of divine beauty unfolded, Elizabeth felt an uneasy stirring within her. What more must they give? What deeper truths must they embrace to navigate through this journey safely? The air thickened with an electric energy, a promise of more than they had anticipated. Just before the storm opened up again, Elder Samuel raised his voice above the growing excitement. Remember, dear ones, we are not merely messengers, we are vessels of His love. What comes next may reshape our understanding of faith itself. With that, Elizabeth's heart raced. What divine revelations awaited them beyond the horizon? What tests of faith would challenge their resolve and deepen their unity? The storm roared again, but this time, it felt like an invitation to step into the unknown, to embrace the power of their calling. The storm settled into a soft rain, gentle and steady, as Elizabeth stood with her eyes fixed on the horizon. She could feel a shift in the atmosphere, an awakening that pulsed through the very core of her being. Each raindrop seemed to echo the promises of the Lord, each one a reminder that they were not walking this path alone. Around her, the villagers gathered, a tapestry of faces illuminated by hope. Their stories weaved together, their hearts intertwined like the branches of an ancient tree, spreading resilience and strength far and wide. Together, Elizabeth declared, her voice ringing with faith, we will forge a path through this storm. Let us remember, Elder Samuel interjected gently, that the rains nourish the earth, so too will our efforts nourish hearts. Let our light shine as we step into what lies ahead. As if in response, the clouds parted, allowing beams of golden sunlight to cascade down, illuminating their faces. It was a divine affirmation. The villagers gasped, then erupted into joyous laughter and song, their spirits soaring alongside the rays of light. Elizabeth felt the warmth fill her chest, and in that sacred moment, she understood, this was the manifestation of their faith. It was not merely about the words they had scrawled on paper or the messages they had sent flitting into the wind. It was about the love and compassion they had infused into each act, lighting up the dark corners of despair around them. Let us go not just into our village, but beyond, Elizabeth urged, her heart stirring with inspiration. Think of those beyond our reach. We can share our light with neighboring towns, even to those who feel utterly lost. The excitement rippled through the congregation, eyes sparkling with newfound purpose. Clara jumped up, her smile radiant. We can make it a festival of kindness. A day dedicated to sharing our gifts. Imagine, a day when love and kindness flow like the river, washing over everyone. Gasps of enthusiasm swirled around her, igniting fresh ideas and adventures. They spoke of community meals, song nights, stories under the stars, and shared acts that could resonate far beyond Eldenwood, and as they began to glimpse their future, Elizabeth felt the weight of her earlier doubts dissolve. She witnessed the divine spirit rising within her. It was a call to become instruments for hope. We must start small, but every pebble creates ripples in the water," she affirmed, her confidence blooming. Suddenly, a villager stepped forth, his expression turning serious. "But what if the darkness fights back? What if our efforts are met with rejection or scorn?" The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Elizabeth took a deep breath and spoke from the well of her heart. "The storm may rage, but it will only reveal the strength of our roots. Fear will never overshadow love. And if we face opposition, it is a reminder of the light we carry, a sign that we are making an impact." An air of resolve enveloped them. "Even if we encounter trials, each hurdle will strengthen and refine us," Elder Samuel proclaimed, nodding with conviction. "Let us prepare our hearts and minds for this journey." With shared determination, the villagers began to assemble plans. They joined hands once more, creating a circle, a physical manifestation of unity and love. Elizabeth closed her eyes, allowing her spirit to connect with the presence surrounding them. And then it happened, this immense wave of peace washed over her, filling her with the knowledge that they were equipped to walk this path. "We are vessels of His light, and we shall shine," she affirmed with strength that soared through her being. The villagers echoed her words, feeling the warmth of faith surging within each of them. They were interconnected, not just as individuals, but as a robust community ready to spread hope far and wide. They set out into the world with hearts full of love, each person carrying their light into the neighborhoods surrounding Eldenwood. The air buzzed with excitement, every step felt purposeful and transformative. They shared stories, offered smiles, and left notes of affirmation wherever they went. The ripple effect began. Small acts of kindness created waves of goodwill. Elizabeth beamed with joy as she witnessed the impact of their efforts. The laughter of children filled the air as they played in gardens created through cooperation, neighbors ignited friendships by sharing meals, and hearts brimming with burdens found solace through compassion. As weeks turned into months, each challenge faced became a building block, a stepping stone further connecting them, each act of love an echo of the divine, returning to them manifold. Elizabeth felt her spirit rise even higher, acknowledging the truth revealed, "In our trials, we are made whole." And as the vibrant colors of sunset wrapped around the horizon, Elizabeth stood with the villagers, reflecting on the journey they had shared. Their hearts, once heavy with doubt and fear, bloomed into partnerships of faith, illuminating the darkness. She smiled, the peace wrapping around her like a warm embrace, knowing deeply that they were now transformed, light bearers held firm in the palms of divine purpose. "Together, we stand as one," she declared, gratitude spilling effortlessly into the night air. "We have manifested not just miracles but a community of love, a sanctuary of wisdom and courage. We are home united in spirit and purpose." And with that, the stars twinkled above, brightly affirming their shared journey, a testament to faith, resilience, and the unwavering power of divine love. Now is your moment to join us. Subscribe immediately and never miss a powerful story of faith that will uplift your spirit. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread the word. Comment below to share your reactions and how this story touched your heart. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this divine manifestation. Only true servants of God understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions. Be a part of this incredible journey.